What's good, y'all? Pod.cannion. I'm back with another reaction video. Today, we have fantastic hip hop, and this is Drake just canceled his Iceman album, and Young Thug exposes him so bad. So yeah, I'm feeling like we're gonna get some actual, cause like at first it was just a skit of like Young Thug talking about Drake, but I think like there actually has come out like recording of Young Thug actually talking about Drake within the time that that's already C skit came out. So we're about to figure out about that and stuff like that. Honestly, I feel so like I don't feel bad for Young Thug because like it's like it's a hand in hand. Like you got out, but you being exposed for like kind of being a hypocrite, and it just doesn't stop. And it just doesn't stop. Like he and it there ain't nothing he can do about it because this is stuff he's been talking about throughout jail. It's just somebody in the shadows is like, yes, I'm gonna just roll these shits out now, and ain't shit you can do about it. What's said has been said. If they got the recording, it's gonna come out, and you just gotta deal with what you said. That's just what it is.
Comes to Drake. Well, now, if you're ready to see how after the reaction to Iceman episode 3, Ice Spice Man's White Man album has been canceled and it will not be dropping for a very long time. And while now making everything even worse with more Young Thug phone calls that have just come out, he just exposed Drake, called him stupid, and revealed information that is gonna make everybody hate him forever. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And now, as Drake has just been rejected by literally everyone, and he has been forced to have no other choice but to run away from every single thing. Well, listen, things are really getting bad for Ice Spice Man, so make sure to leave that like and subscribe because everyone needs to see how melted Iceman really is. As right now, it's Drake, well, really all due to the mistake and monstrosity that will go down as Iceman episode 3. Drake has ended up in a place where now more than ever, he is ruined on both sides, plain and simple. There is no other way around that. Well, the reason why this is because both with his new drops and with the info that has come out and showed more and more why he is not on top. Well, now beyond leaving fans in a place where they are done with his music and are realizing that he has never had less to offer, which we will get more into and what this is really going to mean later. Drake has just been exposed and revealed 100% and fully now as just straight up human garbage and an awful person and really one of the worst types of friends that you could ever be, and no longer just by sources that people could try and dispute because of where they stood with Drake, like Joe Budden or Kendrick Lamar. But no, you can't run away from this anymore because now the guy who Drake has stood up for and acted like they are best buddies no matter what has actually called him out in none other than Young Thug. And with Young Thug, now listen, while the guy has had his own terrible week himself and so much crazy stuff has been getting exposed, and usually it has been making people go against him more and not support him, well, one common theme we can see within all the Young Thug leaks is that one person who he has been nothing but loyal to and has said nothing bad on, at the very least, is Metro Boomin for now. And this is important because in a call where he was discussing all of the events that became the origin of the Kendrick versus Drake beef and the We Don't Trust You album with Metro and Future, we found out so much. And well, from the most neutral and even pro-Drake source we can have, you could say, Young Thug straight up said that for what Drake was saying and doing, well, he was flat out stupid for it. And this info is so damaging to Drake that when everybody really sees why he did this, it is going to be over for this loser more than ever. And it will have a massive domino effect in the industry if it already has not. So listen, I'm not going to play this one because the call is 27 minutes and there's a lot of filler that would not make for a compelling video, but I'm just going to give you the highlights and summarize it, which now in a call where Young Thug was being told about all the album and song drama going on between Drake and Metro Boomin, and this seems to be like it was from 22 when Her Loss was about to come out, and then of course Metro dropped Heroes and Villains a few months later, and the song they were talking about specifically was Trance, which of course we did hear that lead Drake verse. Well, now after Young Thug was told that Drake was running and scrambling around and trying to get a beat or a song clearance from Metro Boomin last minute, which seemingly was Trance because Drake wanted to have Young Thug and Travis Scott on a song together on the album with him, well, Young Thug was disgusted by what he was hearing, and honestly, when you hear Young Thug sound absolutely disgusted and taken aback by hearing Drake just act so cold and, well, he uses the word stupid directly, I mean, we find out everything we need to know about why all of this beef went down and why Drake really did make some of the worst mistakes in the history of hip-hop. And what really stood out here is when Young Thug called out Drake and said, I don't know how anyone can speak to him about music right now. Your mama's gone. She ain't never coming back. He's not in the right headspace, and you're going to tell Drake, I don't like that, I ain't clearing it. And with Young Thug saying, and I quote, Drake's so stupid, instead of giving some wisdom or something real, you about to say some crazy stuff on the phone and then come right back 2-3 weeks later and say, hey, let me get the song. Wow. When you see that Young Thug says all of this and says he would be with Metro Boomin all of the time right now if he were able to be there and make sure that his friend was okay. Well, with this information, we know every single thing that we will ever need to and are seeing out in the open more than ever. Just with the way Drake and his lack of empathy is being talked about and really how insensitive he is to something like the loss of a mother. Well, at the very least, this is a moment where I think most of us can just look at Drake and see the situation and just say, you know what, this guy is not like us, because on a personal level, if you really do align with somebody who shows such a lack of empathy, support, care, and compassion for one of the worst things that can happen to somebody, listen, all I can say from the very least is you're the furthest person that I would ever want to be around. And with the guy who has held Drake down and who all of these rappers look to be the voice of reason, at least at a time putting this all out there, this is really bad and embarrassing if you are Drake, because now we do know that what Joe Budden tried to tell us is all true, and well, he has been dissed and turned on by so many people, probably with a huge part in the fact that you cared more about a beat than somebody's own mother. And listen, with Young Thug just putting this out there as the...
Yeah, that's why we talk about certain people being like business oriented, and Drake, you know what I'm saying, he uses people when they're convenient for him, and little stuff like that just shows like where people like Drake's headspace is at.
100% definitive truth that now we can all reference and see. This is bad, and I don't know how Drake is going to ever recover from this, because while Young Thug has created his own issues recently, which we need even more videos to look at and really discuss the magnitude of, well, for this entire group of people who hovered around him and Metro Boomin, and at the very least, we're all making music together at one point, with this information being out there, and well, now we know why you would not work with Drake and what it would mean if you cross the line and do. Drake is genuinely in a position now where he isn't just exposed for being a human piece of trash, but now no rappers are going to want to go anywhere near a studio with him forever now, unless you are that bad and lame of a clout chaser. But really now, for all of these guys who are friends with Metro, like Young Thug, Future, Travis Scott, I think that they are really going to continue to just hold down their place, and at the very least try not to work with Drake, because Metro is more valuable to them and he is clearly a better and more important friend. And all of this now becomes a problem, because while Drake is struggling to make any sort of decent music and is begging for help behind the scenes from anybody to get a slap, this is going to all come full circle and ruin whatever was left of the album that Rick Ross is calling White Man, because let's just break it down. What the result of this entire moment and series of new music snippets and Pinocchio fan film fantasies from Drake ended up being, well, is the biggest disaster of arguably Drake's entire career since the beef, other than the Karen paperwork.
And that's crazy,
and why I
honestly,
say this
never mind,
is
it's
because
still
for Drake, he has hit an
old.
entire new low, and something for him that is the absolute worst thing in his own eyes that could ever happen, which is that now with the hour-and-a-half waste of time nothing burger that the Iceman just gave to everyone, well, this thing was so boring and so many people fell asleep just even trying to look at what was going on here, that the general public is not even putting in effort to make fun of Laubrey or even engaging with some of the things that they once did that at least gave him negative attention, which, hey, while it was bad, it was still attention all of the less. And so seriously now, with people walking away from Drake at a rate like we have never seen, well, listen, for a guy who is not operated like a rapper or a musician, but an influencer for so long, and well, what that means is that any publicity and any attention has been good for what his weird, twisted little games always wanted. Well, what is abundantly clear is that the demand for anything around Drake's name has never been lower, and really what is so obvious now based on the way that everybody just made fun of the new music that he played and then moved on, ultimately comes down to the fact that if Drake dropped another lead single or a new album, well, I guess the one thing in common that Iceman does have with Pinocchio is that both of them are made out of wood, and Drake's first week sales really will go triple wood if he drops any sort of a or, you know what, even a lead single. And listen, I'm 100% serious about this, and if you don't think that this is why Drake didn't drop any new music other than a part 2 of a song from the last album in Iceman episode 3, which of course the running theme and goal of this was to keep dropping singles and to build on the universe and rollout of this album, well, listen, Cupcake Karen knows he is in trouble, and it's all because right within this very moment, well, if he drops a major anything, his next flop will flop so bad that it will make the last song that flops look like it's a success in comparison. And well, with all of this, this now brings us to the very thing that everybody needs to realize with Drake, whether you are a stan or a hater, which ultimately is that with this Iceman album, which has been filled with mid-moments, aimless filler, Pinocchio concepts and infatuations, and songs that keep copying and pasting the same trash song after the next. Well, listen, we are now at a point with where the response and reaction from Drake with all of this has shown us it has never been more clear that the Cupcake is going to be pushing back this album as far as he can, and to be honest, I would not be that surprised if this thing never ends up dropping, because with how poor everything has been doing, well, if Drake were to drop this record anytime soon, he is bound to release a project that will be the ultimate rock bottom of his career, and I'm not even talking about in terms of the quality, although it probably would be as well, but I'm just talking about in terms of the numbers, and as once again, Drake is an influencer artist who really only cares about numbers and attention, does not care about any sort of the merit of what he is doing. This would be the very worst thing he could ever possibly do, and really now, even compared to SSS for You, well, it does seem like with how lukewarm the reception has been to all of the new mid songs that he has been playing, well,
and, you know, don't even get me started on those AI music videos I've been seeing. Like, I thought it was fake at first. Then people like, no, I went to his channel. That's a real video. Like, yo, with every move you make, you prove with your actions, Drake, that you're not doing this for the art. You're giving niggas as much slop as you possibly can, pretty much as you see that the audience will accept. And you know, just sad and disappointing.
For that record, while it didn't do great when it first dropped, at least people ended up tuning into it, I guess, if we compare it to how bad Drake is in a place of now, just because they were interested to see what Drake sounded like and just to see what new music would really feel like after almost 2 years of not getting an album from Drake altogether. And with this, when you just sit there and realize that the already atrocious debut of an album that Drake really pushed as something that was second fiddle and was a flop in of itself, well, now it's turned into something that is clearly more viable than anything else he could do now with Iceman. And again, if you don't think that part 2 didn't drop because Drake is trying to run back to this album era and still support it because it's giving him more than the Iceman is, well, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just living in a delusional world just like Drake is. But even for the Ice Spice Man right now, he is realizing how bad things are and how bad they will really do to his reputation if he continues to go down this rabbit hole as fast and as sporadic as he has been. And so now, understanding all of the context of this, and then when you look at what's going on in the industry, we can nearly 100% confirm that Iceman is not going to drop anytime soon. And really, just to double down on this, all you have to do is look at the release calendar up and coming in the music industry for the next few weeks, which are showing that if Drake decides to drop Iceman, he is going to melt even more and truly have one of the worst flops, not just in his career, but of the entire year. As already in this upcoming month, there are 2 major records coming out, with Doja Cat's new record, which drops on September 26th, and then before that, and even bigger in terms of what the label is putting into it and what the industry is looking to get from it, well, Cardi B is dropping her long-awaited sophomore album on the 19th. And listen, I don't care how you feel about any of the people here. This record is going to crush a Drake album so bad based on everything we see that you won't even be able to think about it.
Cardi B hasn't dropped since 2017. And she just came off of beating a civil lawsuit that went a little bit viral on TikTok. This is actually the perfect time for her to come back with music. So yeah, that would be dumb for him to drop around the same time as Cardi B. Even though that shit ain't really gonna be like, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like, all right, I do not think about Cardi B's music the next time I'm gonna get the next Cardi B drop. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? I know the music industry, that will be a successful drop. I'm not even going to say unfortunately.
Because with how much the label is putting into this project, and you can just look at all the physicals and all of the marketing they are doing.
See?
It is absolutely massive. And
like,
considering how
they're literally having a picture from, bro, this is her in court. And they're having her be the cover art of her in court. Like,
long they have waited for Cardi B to drop.
That's what it happens. If you have like a moment where people are talking about you outside of music, that's usually when the artist will drop their music.
I mean, especially for Atlantic Records, which is where Cardi resides, this is massive. Listen, even if this album is terrible, they're going to make this thing.
It doesn't matter how it sounds. It's Cardi B.
Do a single thing about it. And so, with these 2 stars dropping, while this would already be enough to close Drake out of one of the biggest months left of the year, well, things are only going to get even worse. As for Drake, what is going to be his biggest nightmare and what he won't be able to compete with, even if he dropped his biggest album ever and really, honestly, his most successful, well, is of course the inevitable, which is the drop coming from Taylor Swift on October 3rd. And with this, with the entire music industry, NFL, and so many other entities supporting this record and making it a big deal. I mean, even beyond the streaming numbers that this record is going to shatter, with the millions, and yes, I said millions of vinyls and CDs that are ready to be in stores and ready to be shipped, this record is probably going to end up breaking more milestones in the industry, because this is what the industry sets up for Taylor Swift and these monumental releases which she is doing, which is bringing so much value and is generating so much for all of the labels and partners involved.
Oh yeah,
listen,
they are rolling in dough right
try to
now.
Compete with the Taylor Swift album cycle when he was in good with his label. Listen, this is not that time anymore, and this time around with the label being ready to have a first week for Taylor that will move literally millions of units, probably for at least 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, even if Drake drops after a month from Taylor, she is going to make him look like an underground rapper with the numbers that she would put up in comparison to him. And with this, well, listen, as the rest of the music industry shuts down in November and then is pretty much quiet for December, when you gather everything going
that's
on,
underground season. Y'all know that's the perfect time for y'all underground artists to drop.
himself.
November
And so really,
/
that's just
December
leaving him with no
time.
other
I'm not
choice
gonna
now,
lie
which
to
is
you.
just to cancel this thing and push it back as much as he possibly can. As really, when you really consider that the first album Drake already dropped this year, which people were more excited for, already did pretty poorly and put up all-time low numbers for his career. I mean, really, Drake is just out of options and has really exhausted every single thing that could have gotten him out of this horrible place. And honestly, for everybody who has been watching this fall up, I think I speak for all of us when I say that we are not surprised whatsoever. Because truly for Drake, after trying to stay outside for almost 500 days and make these quick microwave comebacks over and over again and just keep overexposing yourself no matter what you do and never letting people miss your presence once.
Like, literally.
You're paying the ultimate price for all of the ridiculous stuff and games that you have kept trying to keep up ever since the beef ended, because you know what is happening now, and you have to see that people are just tired of all the antics, and after what really is one of the worst album rollouts of all time in Iceman so far, well listen, whatever hype Drake was trying to build up and whatever red button he was still acting like he was going to push, he has lost whatever he was holding on to in his career, and things have never looked possibly worse. And so with the Iceman album, which once again, this is a back against the wall situation for Drake, and this has become the most important album of his entire career in terms of what it's going to mean for his legacy, career, and just future in the industry. But what I do think is happening now behind the scenes for Drake, beyond him and his entire team just scrambling and going crazy because nothing they have done has worked, well, within this crash out is finally going to learn something, which is that he has to go back to the drawing board for this album, and he really needs to find new trends to chase and more clout to fake, because really, this entire Iceman series of streams just showing that the only thing it's going to do for the Iceman is that this album is going to flop and ruin him. Well, I mean, there's only two choices left for this loser, which is going to be to drop this album and it will flop bad and he'll lose everything, or he can just run away and forget about it for as long as he can. And with this really being the reality of where we're at, and the choice he is making is more than obvious, which even for Drake's own standards, with how delusional he has been, that is saying so much. Well, listen, now just expect to see more duck faces from the guy and cringe antics, all while the industry is stacking up and getting more competitive in Q4. And listen, as you're just seeing all these other artists release big albums and reach milestones and just celebrate their dominance in the industry, just remember that Drake is sitting out there somewhere hiding and is avoiding having to do anything that will expose the fact and quantify with chart metrics and data and performance. Now, well, the worst downfall and fall off in not just the history of rap, but maybe even music, and honestly, maybe even me.
Like, there's a lot more commentaries than I thought there'd be. Okay. Damn. It's like, yeah, this might have to be some other videos. We already know Charleston Wright was gonna say some shits. Very interesting. Really? Y'all know about the Glorilla thing? He called Glorilla Chopped. He said a bunch of other stuff. If I see like a good compilation video that's like around like 10 minutes to sum up everything he said, we'll probably react to that. But if not, hey, I feel like y'all done got it already. So yeah, if y'all like the video, like it, subscribe if you're new. All we do is chill over here. And with that being said, y'all be great. Y'all be safe. Keep on. Get into that bag. And I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Peace. Yep.